Welcome to Heartbreak to Healed podcast. I'm your host, Jamie Baptiste from Rejected Hearts Club.
And I'm your host, Sophie Delcour with Healing Soul Spiritual Center.
And we do the Heartbreaks
so you can heal.
Today's show, we have a guest that I've known for a few years now from Austin, Texas. We're going to say he's gone from the strip clubs to going viral on TikTok to now being an amazing father. And I'm excited to hear his perspective on exactly his breakups to where he is now and how he heals from a male perspective. So everybody, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the wonderful Will. Hey, Will.
Jamie, what's up? It's a blessing to be here.
Oh, thank you. We are so excited to have you here. You are our first male guest, so I want to make sure that we can talk to you about any and everything today to see your perspective.
Really nice to meet you, Sophie.
It's good to meet you too.
I am ready to have a fun ride, a fun deep dive into your perspective on heartbreaks and breakups and kind of things that you've learned along the way that you can share with our audience and our viewers. Right. So with that being said, let's just get into your last heartbreak and what happened with that.
So my last heartbreak, it was a little bit awkward because as I worked at a strip club, I was a security guy there, and I ended up dating one of the girls that worked there, and I loved her. She was great. We didn't have any problems or anything, and one day she kind of just ghosted me, didn't text back, didn't call or anything. So I was thinking, maybe I did something wrong. Maybe something's, let me check and see if she's okay. And I let a couple days go by, and I just sent her a text and said, "Hey, I'm sorry if I did anything wrong. Let me know. If you need space, there you go. You'll have it. If you want to meet up and talk, we can do that." And
so what made you apologize to somebody that was already ghosting you that they created that issue?
Well, because in my way of thinking, I thought that, maybe I did something wrong, and she just disappeared on me, and I've had that happen throughout my life. At least it's been like 3 times I've had that happen.
Wow.
And that's since then. Now, the 2 times that happened last, I figured, hell, I'll let them go, I'm not gonna worry about it. They'll come back if I did something wrong, or I'll find out if they're not okay later. But with her, she said, "Hey, let's meet up and talk." And we met up at a Starbucks. And she straight just told me, "Hey, I'm really busy. I have to go to London to finish my school." And I guess she was going to college in London because it was cheaper or something like that. And she left. She left it at that. And that really, it hurt me. It hurt me because I'm thinking, well, you could have just told me that, and we could have left off it would have left a better taste in my mouth, so to speak.
Now, do you think people that do that to others, that they don't want to tell you because it's just easier to just go away and then after the fact it already happened? You and I shared kind of that same experience where my last breakup, the guy randomly moved to freaking Tokyo and I had no idea. Yeah. So it's like, instead of just being an adult and talking that out, like, hey, here's my goals and dreams and, we can support that, they just leave and hop up without any signs.
I think with a lot of people that's happened to them before, and they might think that that's acceptable behavior because you hear more and more that people are just ghosting other people and leaving, but I grew up with communication. It's like, hey, I'll call if I got a problem with you. I'm going to tell you in your face, or I'm going to call you or send you an email. I'm going to, let you know. I'm not just going to be, but given me and her history, um, I just thought, hey, something might be wrong. Maybe I can reach out one last time and find out. And, and I have this, I've always felt that, the saying, if you love somebody, let them go.
Mhm.
It was meant to be, they'll come back. And I kept that thought through my head, that process through my head the months we were apart. And she did contact me. She would send me an email and ask how I was doing. I'm like, oh, I'm doing okay. But then by then I was already dating other people, And when she finally came back and wanted to get back together, I really just didn't feel the same.
As you shouldn't, because we always learn and grow from our past. And by then, you're probably a completely different person and you're still trying to heal from what just happened, the impact of that. And
Yeah.
so we've talked about rebound dating and redating. And once again, I am the queen of telling everybody never redate. There is a reason why things did not work out. And
Yeah.
so people that try to trickle back into your life when they did you wrong or could have communicated, it's like now the expectations are to get the same will that she had, but you're a completely different person because
Yeah.
you were broken by somebody.
Yep.
Yeah. And I felt like, I don't know, I felt like I dodged a bullet, because I feel like she's still, and I've talked to her since then, and I feel like she's just stuck in this process where she's actually not moving forward, she's not going anywhere with life, and it's really sad to see, but you know that's life. You either move forward or
Mhm.
you're going to stay in the position you're in.
Now, some people listening to this may ask the question of, did he not see red flags? He was dating a stripper, this, and that. Everybody is a human being. So, what do you have to say in regards to dating somebody that happens to be in the entertainment industry versus, like, oh, I'm going to date a lawyer or something like that? Do you think maybe the same situation would have happened just based on people's careers?
Based on career, no, but based on their past experiences, I do think the same thing could happen,
Hmm.
because we had women that would come in there that were, um, you know, battered wives or
Hmm.
ex-wives, or they were married, and they're just trying to
Hmm.
make money. I actually have a few friends that work there that are extremely intelligent. They have college degrees. I know a dietitian that works in that industry.
Hmm.
So it just depends on the person's background. And I think with her background, she may have been battling some demons that are still there with her till this day that
Wow, that makes
she's
sense.
not going to get over,
And
and
Sophie's talked about that a few times where it's kind of how we grow up can impact your relationships and things like that, right, Sophie?
Absolutely. I'm, because it is very much what you're exposed to and what you learn around you from, family when it comes to what you watch on TV and movies, the commercials you watch, what you see from family, what you see from your friends' parents, your own parents. It's the whole nine. It's your entire environment that's shaping you. And different events that happen that are also significant that can cause trauma, and all of that can dictate it. And especially listening that she was going to school in London on top of it. I mean, how easy is that just to kind of try to run?
yeah,
Because you're literally, I mean, you're going overseas,
Mhm.
completely, like, that you're talking whole new life, culture shock.
Mhm.
You're starting over, really. Like
now
that's so that makes it easy to run.
Did
now
she
there,
apologize at ever? Did you ever
no,
hear an apology?
no. So about a month before this happened, I was at work, and she actually called me and said, hey, I think I'm pregnant. And before we even started dating and really being intimate with each other, she's told me she couldn't get pregnant. And so I'm a guy, so I thought nothing of it. And I was like, okay, well, that's great. And she pops up with that, and then all of a sudden, she disappears after. And I kind of got worried. Like, is this, is a child going to pop up later, out of the woodwork?
Right.
Like, yeah, hey, this is your daughter. This is your son. Sorry. But,
Yeah.
like I told you guys, I talked to her. This was probably about 3 months ago. And
Really?
she literally asked me if I would be a donor for her. And I had no idea she was actually trying to get pregnant the whole time.
And what did you say?
I said, no, I have a family. There's no way. Like, I'm sorry, but
Wow.
I've way moved beyond that. So I
Way
can't,
beyond.
you know,
So right now, even hearing that, what does your current partner think about some ex-girlfriends?
my wife now, she goes, she thought it was a very bad idea. She thought it was crazy. Like, why would you, I think she was asking me why would you go back? Like, why would you do that? But I told her, I said, I used to date this woman a long time ago, but she doesn't know the backstory of everything.
Got it.
Wow.
So, I
It's
mean,
always crazy of people that want to come back into your lives after they pretty much did you dirty, but then you're still asking that person for something major. Like,
yeah,
that's a whole life that she's asking for you to build with her and not knowing your entire background situation nowadays. It's like,
yeah,
oh, well, we were together, he loved me, and I still can get away with whatever I want, even though I did him dirty. Like, that's not cool.
nope,
And
not
let
at
me
all.
ask for some sperm, like, come on.
Yeah, it's like, no, I couldn't do that.
Does it bring up old feelings to have her jump in your life like this, and especially asking for, like, probably the most serious stuff you could ever ask somebody?
Mhm.
With me, no. I
Okay.
honestly felt really bad for her,
Wow.
Mhm.
because she, it's like I said before, it's like she's stuck, she's not going anywhere in life. And it's kind of sad to see somebody that's intelligent that can do better, not do better, and there's nothing I can really do to help.
Yeah, you have to help yourself first before you can help other people, right? So
Yeah,
if she's not gonna figure out her own life, then she can't expect other people to figure out for her.
yeah.
Yep.
And that's what she was using you for.
That was my train of thought.
So
Yeah.
then from your perspective, like after that all happened, how did you either wake up one day and say, "You know what? Like I am over this and I am better than this." And what was kind of your process to heal to quote unquote get over that relationship?
So back then I was living with my father in his lake house, and it's really peaceful in Lago Vista. You sit out on the back porch, and you got these rolling mountains and hills, and it was beautiful. I went through the depression process. I cried a lot. I listened to a lot of sad music.
Mhm.
You know, I kept myself busy. Now I
Mhm.
lived in Lago Vista, but I worked, off of 71, Highway 71 in South Austin.
Mhm.
And I also worked at UPS part time.
Mhm.
So I was always busy. Now, to help me make it through the process, not only did I stay busy, but I had a strong network of people that I could contact and talk to about the situation.
Mhm. And so were you getting advice from people that you felt comfortable with in order to move on, or that was kind of like a better healing thing so you can just get it out and communicate?
For me, um, the healing process it was easier than most because of my childhood and my upbringing.
Mhm.
I've always lost people that I've loved dearly throughout my life. So just having that and the memories of we talked before about my grandmother leaving my life abruptly. uh, there was nothing I could do.
Mhm.
I figured, this is life. People come into your life. People are going to leave your life. And everything, literally, it happens for a reason. People make connections for a reason. People break connections for a reason. And whether or not I was like a rebound or being used, it's a lesson that I've learned that all these things happen for a reason. I pretty much feel like I dodged a bullet, because I think what would have happened if I had gone back to my ex? Where would I be?
Nowhere good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I would have never bought a home, probably. You never know.
From this, I want to know, were you able to learn more about yourself from the breakup process and from the healing process and coming out on the other side?
Yes, I care deeply for everybody I come in contact with, but I was able to learn that once somebody leaves, there's no coming back. I can't force relationships. I can only keep the relationships I have strong, and speak my mind when I have to. I'm trying to work with that. With my mom, our communication is a little off, but I love my mom deeply. But certain people have their past that they won't let go, and sometimes you cannot change that at all.
Yeah. hmm
I can definitely relate to that. And I guess, again, what Sophie has preached is how, again, we grow up and you see different relationships and things like that. And that's kind of either you can choose to bring that into your own relationships or not. And so, with you kind of saying even communication with your mom is a little bit off, do you feel like because of that relationship with your mother, your relationship with your wife, you've learned where it's like, no, I always want to make sure that I'm communicating to whatever woman's in my life better than the communication that you have with you and your mom?
Yes, that, and I treat my children different. You know what I mean? I don't like when we were kids. Imagine you guys have kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
Imagine being a single mother raising 5 kids by yourself.
Nope.
Imagine how stressful that is. So we had, our mom pretty much raised us like your typical black mom. It was like a boot camp almost, but she loved us. She loved us. There were days I have great memories, from that era, from my childhood. But I've got some terrible ones too because of where we
Right.
grew up. And all of that has helped shaped, how I heal when people exit my life, things like that. If my wife now says, "Hey, I'm out of here. I'm leaving," I'll
Mm-hmm.
be hurt. I will. But the thing I'm going to miss the most is her presence, and then the children. I'll miss them,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And then I'll be by myself again. I'll have to deal with the silence of being by myself. And I actually, when I was single, I loved being, I loved being, coming home and it's quiet.
Mm-hmm.
But now, I come in, the kids are happy to see me coming home, and things like that I would miss. But the healing process, I think everybody goes through that process of depression and anger, and then you don't understand what happened, and then it's all over again. That depression
Mm-hmm.
and that anger comes back, but it gets easier as we get older because you
Sophie,
understand more.
Sophie, from your perspective, what he's saying is how everybody, you can go through depression and setbacks and things like that. So, from a healing perspective, what would you either recommend or how do you get through that when it's like hard and it's hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel? Is it time? What is it?
Well, yeah, time is definitely needed, but the biggest thing is still two pieces, and we've talked about it before because it is a consistent issue for everybody, and it's acceptance. It's acceptance, but it's acceptance of so many factors. And so so when you have multiple factors, it takes longer. So you have to first accept the situation for what it is. You have to accept that you're hurt. You have to accept that you do feel depressed. You have to accept that your day to day life is going to change
Mm-hmm.
again. it's not going to be the same. It goes back to everything that he was also talking about when it comes to if something were to happen, the kids being there, her presence, all of that stuff, it changes.
Mhm.
And you have to go through that process. It's not easy to go through that process. And, but the only way to heal is to do it. You can't brush it under the rug. You can't run from it. You can't ignore it because all that does is it bottles up in
Mhm.
your system, and it's just going to sit there and eat at you wherever it decides to hone in on itself. And then yes, it can come out in different ways when it comes to mental health, physical health. How it manifests is really difficult. So
Mhm.
doing like what he's talking about, where you have this balance of going through the healing process, giving yourself, time to understand what happened, and also keeping that good balance of going ahead and keeping yourself a bit busy so that way your mind doesn't go wild. Our,
Mhm.
minds can go wild, our emotions can go wild because of it, because we can get lost in our heads. That is also another human trait, but you can't run from it.
That
But
right there. So then from a male perspective, well, why do you think sometimes it's harder for men to, like Sophie's saying, that acceptance or actually come out and tell your friends or your family, this situation made me depressed. I am not good. Why do men in general, as a generalization, hide their emotions and their feelings instead of just being real? Like, no, this person broke me. I'm not good. Why is that so hard to communicate and get out as a male?
Well, because most all men we're supposed to be tough. We're not supposed to have feelings. You know what I mean? Um, and then you worry about the stigma of what everybody else is going to say, what they're going to think about you, things like that. Um, Me personally, everybody's going to be different, but
Mhm.
I had a rough upbringing. So, losing a lot of loved ones, friends, and family to violence and things like that growing up, it's just, I personally realized that people are going to leave my life. I
Mm.
just, had a friend of mine that I met years ago. Um, she passed away in her home, and I think it was something like a brain aneurysm,
Oh,
and it
no.
really
wow.
it hit me, and I'm just like, wow, life is very short,
Yeah.
and you never know what could happen. And I
Mm.
grew up, with situations like that constantly. Or just I had a friend when I was 15. My best friend Mike got murdered over his jacket and some shoes over something so simple, you know, and we were just kids. So I mean, my situation will be a lot different from a lot of people. Um, I do think I take breakups a little bit better because you have some guys that will go nuts if a woman breaks up with them. They go
Mhm.
crazy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But it also has a good deal to do with confidence. Jamie, you knew me when I was single. You know me now. But I always, whether I was dating them or not, I always had beautiful women around me all the time.
Yeah.
All the
Yep.
time. And it had a large part to do with confidence and the way I was brought up.
I feel like the people that you were surrounded by, definitely your confidence, and because at the end of the day, you're just a genuinely good guy, good human being. So
Mhm.
I feel like some guys might take that's like, "Oh, I'm around all these girls and blah blah blah," and take advantage of that, but your
Yeah,
character has never been that. It's just people were attracted to you just for who you are and not for what can I get out of this person. So I
yeah,
think you've either it's from your past experiences with family or things like that has built your confidence because clearly you've gone through a lot of tragic events and things like that where either you could have tanked all the way down or you can grow from that and move on and just say I have to be this strong person in order to survive.
oh yeah.
So
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, and I do think that I'll talk to a few people about it. If I hadn't moved out of Ohio to Austin, Texas, hell, I'd be dead or in prison, either one. You know what I mean? Because I was hanging around. I had some really good friends there, but I also had a lot of friends that were not doing the right things.
Hmm. I say that all the time. I grew up in Baltimore, and if I wouldn't have left that place, I probably would have had 10 kids by now, maybe doing like just a completely different lifestyle from moving to another city and seeing that there are more things in this world for you to see and do besides the bad. And I kind of what you're saying about your friend that got murdered over shoes and clothes. That was the same thing in Maryland as well, over
Yeah.
starter jackets.
Yep.
So, and shoes. So, very unfortunate.
How did you deal with that level of heartbreak as a kid?
Oh,
I
as a
mean, that's
kid,
serious, right?
y'all,
That's
let me tell you, I've always been adventurous. I kept to myself as a kid. I really did at a certain point. I just, we lived our address. It was 1766 East 26th Avenue. Our elementary school was right behind our house. I could jump the fence and I was at school. So I would go to that schoolyard even after school and I just play, in the jungle gym, but I would be by myself. I was that weird kid that you'd see me laying down in the grass, picking up bugs, and grasshoppers and things like that. But, at that young age, at 15, 14 or 15, I had gray hair. It was really stressful.
Wow.
Um, but to cope with everything, I pretty much stayed to myself. I didn't have too many friends, as a kid. After a while, I was just like, man, they're all going to leave me anyway. So I just stuck to myself.
You just said they're all going to leave me anyway.
Yeah,
So I assume that's been your mentality because of all the tragic events that you've experienced, that was your mindset of, if I meet this person or this friend, they're all going to leave me anyway. So why should I either open up and get to know them if they're all going to be gone? Do you
exactly.
still carry that with you
I'll,
nowadays?
I'll always. That's something it's been ingrained in me that
Hmm.
people are going to exit your life, and there's really nothing you can do. And it could have, they could exit your life at any given moment. It's like they say, if God giveth, he can also taketh. So
Hmm.
there's nothing you can do. And that's, you have a lot of people that it's just ingrained in us, because of the things we saw when we were younger, the people we lost, when we were younger. Um, and the, the nail in the coffin for me was, losing my grandmother. That really, really was like, I just, it's nothing I could do. I felt so bad, but I had to move forward. I had to wake up tomorrow and go to school or stay home or,
Hmm.
do my chores around the house. I still had to move on.
Was your
So
grandmother more like a mom to you?
so she was, but my mother, when my grandmother was alive, was really, on top of things. She took care of us. But my grandmother, came in and stepped up when she wasn't there and took care of us also. And then I want to say the last 8 or 9 months she was alive and on
Hmm.
hospice, she stayed with us, with my mother and I. And when she passed away, she was actually in my old room in my bed.
Wow.
Um, my mother, she called me. I was in high school. I was a sophomore or senior in high school, and she called me and said, "Hey, Pee Wee, if you want to say, a few last words to your grandmother, you might want to come home." And I sped home from school. I left. And, I told my grandmother, I love you. I'm going to miss you. And my mother, she had already, teared up. And we're sitting in her room, just hugging each other, crying. And when we get up, to go back in to see her last time, she was gone. She was gone. She had taken her last breath. And it was shocking to me, and it was really sad to see my mother's reaction
Mm-hmm.
to that.
Mm-hmm.
So
I feel like I
after
could hug
that
you right now.
loss, I'm sorry, y'all. After that loss,
Mhm.
the people you love deeply, one day they're going to leave your life. And there's nothing you can do. So, moving forward, at a very young age, I realized that. So with my exes, when they left, it hurt, yeah. And the grieving process, that process is over and over again. It lasted for 2 to 3 months, and I was back on track. I moved forward.
Man. Yeah, I just feel like your life, unfortunately, it's just you've been molded to have lots of loss in your life. And so in your relationship now, what do you bring? Do you bring that strength into your relationship because you've had so much loss, or just because, again, you said that feeling of, well, everybody's going to be gone anyway. So kind of what's that vibe now when you guys have children together?
Oh, that's a good question. So I love Kara with all my heart. I love her. Um, she does tell me though that, hey, you need to be more romantic. Like you're not romantic enough. And I am guilty of that. Looking back on certain things. I remember I bought her flowers for, I think it was for Valentine's Day or her birthday.
Mm-hmm.
And she told me, I don't know why you bought me these. I don't like flowers. And I knew she didn't like flowers, but it was a gesture. But I never bought her flowers again. But she does tell me that, man, you're like mean. And I'm like, no, I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just, this is how I am. And she accepts me that way. And there's some things I need to work on. Definitely the romantic part and all that stuff. I need to work on that.
Do you think it's harder to work on it now that you guys have 2 kiddos versus
Oh
if you
yeah.
guys had no kiddos and you're dating and it's like, okay, well, my person's telling me they need me to be more of this in order for there to, what's that word? It's that book of like 5 love languages. So it's like you need to meet her love language and she needs to meet your love language. And down the line, if those aren't getting met, things are going to trickle down to maybe resentment or something. So,
Well, so the hard part with having 2 kids, with having kids in general, is just having that time to really spend time together, just
mhm.
the 2 of us. You know, we went on a trip, like a weekend trip to San Antonio, and we had a great time.
Hmm.
Went out to eat. We spent time together. We went to the spa and got a couples, massage. Great time.
Mhm.
But at home, we barely have time together. On my weekends, I'm cleaning house, doing laundry, mowing the lawn, and stuff
Mhm.
like that. So, and she's with the kids, and it's stressful for her.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I understand her point of view, also. But like I said, as you get older, um, with things like romance, if you have a certain way, or if you haven't had romance in your life, it's hard to give romance. It's hard to express that.
I get it.
I have a question for you, actually.
Yeah.
Um, so on your end of it, would there be any of it that stems from the fact that you have experienced all the loss that you have had and you don't even want to put the effort into it, even on like a subconscious level, because that person is going to end up leaving you anyway, whether it be by, breakup, divorce, or tragedy?
That actually does, a tiny part, a little part of it, yes. But growing up, single mother, my mom, I didn't see any romance on her side at all.
Mhm.
Romance
Yeah.
was not in her life. If it was, I didn't see it.
Mhm.
And she had a great distrust in men because of what happened to her. So I could talk hours about that, but my mom's actually working on a book about her life that I'm trying to push her to finish. But you
Yay!
know,
Keep us posted on that.
there's a lot of tragic things that happened to her in her past that
Mhm.
made her who she was, and she was a solid mom. Solid mom. She kept us safe
Mhm.
and taught us, right from wrong and what to do, what not to do.
I'm sure she did her best as a single mom with what did you say, 4 or 5 of you guys?
5. It was
Oh
5
my
of us.
gosh. Yeah, so it's like
Yeah.
the romance factor, she probably craved that, but she's
Yeah.
focused on, kids or it's like a job, like, you're focused on your job, and you have to make sure these little human beings are well taken care of while you're still trying to take care of yourself. So
Yes.
kinda what you're saying with how your wife wants more romance out of you, and then for her, when it's, like, the weekends and she's already busy during the week, and now it's like, "Okay, the weekend's here, kids have to be good," but my husband here, like, I'm doing all this, but all I'm asking for is, like, this tiny piece of him that's
Yes.
needed, and so that's what she's asking for out of you, even though it's hard to give. Somehow you gotta find that balance to give her what she needs, because 'cause I'm sure she's also given what you need, but you probably need something else as well, but she's asking for a little tiny piece of some will love.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And I kind of feel like, oh, who was it? Harry Chapin, who came out with the Cats in the Cradle song, where the father's never there. He's always at work, but the son wants to play. My father was definitely not around. But now with my job and my work, I'm barely here. I'm never here.
Mhm.
And then, before you know it, my son's going to be grown. Everybody's going to be grown up. And then when you have the time, they're going to be off doing something else.
Yeah.
And it's the same. It, it's that song is like the story of my life.
Well, I think from your
Yeah.
perspective and a lot of guys out there, you're taking on that role as a provider, and I have to do this for my family, and so I'm gonna keep busy because it's for my family, but your family's just like, "Dad or husband, like, I just want, like, time."
Yeah.
And
Yes.
trying to find that balance as a provider is sometimes hard because it's and then by the time you get home on the weekends, like, you're probably burned out and tired, so trying to
Oh,
put in
so
effort for romance is like, "I'm just tired, I wanna go to bed." So
exactly, exactly. And that's how things have been. When I get home, it's either my routine, honestly, when I get off of work, it's normally at 7 or 8 at night. I get
mhm,
home. If there's dirty dishes in the kitchen, I'll clean them and I'll take a shower and I'll go to bed.
mhm.
The family's already asleep half the time.
So can you take out, like, one day to obviously you'll still be tired, but when you get home, if you even though your wife says, "I don't like flowers," we say that to every guy, like, we still like we still appreciate it, but if there's just, like, some little if it's her favorite, like, candy or something, and maybe, like, put it under her pillow or something when she wakes up and or a little note, so it's like,
Yeah.
you know
Mhm.
that even though you're tired, you still put in that little effort to show her that you care.
Yeah. I could do that. I could do that.
That's your
Definitely.
homework.
All right.
Yeah.
That's
Here, you know what my favorite is? So I do have an office that I share with my husband, but sometimes he will write me just quick little love note on a post-it and put it on my monitor. And that's what I wake up to.
It's
that's
Just
cute.
that's
randomly.
sweet.
That's
Yep.
it.
That's sweet.
And it's not like he's like a super romantic guy or anything like that, because he's more like in your boat when it comes to upbringing and what he experienced and things like
Yeah.
that, where it wasn't like that in the house because of different reasons. And but he'll do those little things. And I'll tell you what, I keep those post-its.
I was just gonna ask you that because I'll find
I
them in my
do.
bag, or I have years of Post-its from my husband too, and it's just when you wake up and you see that, you're like, He does care, and we keep him because we cherish it.
Yeah.
And you know
Okay,
how long that
that's a good
took?
idea.
2 seconds. 2 seconds.
That's a
So
good
you
idea.
have time.
All right. I'll work on it, definitely.
Yes. Actions, Will, actions. So to wrap this up, guys, what would you say, Will, would be what's your advice to men going through heartbreak and breakups or even loss? Like, what is your, out of everything that you've experienced, everything that you've gone through, what's your words of wisdom?
My advice would be, tomorrow's a new day. If someone leaves your life, you love them, still love them, that love may come back to you. And that person, you have to understand, may be going through something that you don't even know. Um, and communication is key. If someone leaves, don't be the one to constantly try and call them and keep in touch. Give them that space. Give them that space and see what happens. Because something good may come out of that, or you may have just dodged a bullet. You never know.
I like
I
it.
love it.
That's awesome. Well, tell the good people, where can people find you? Is there anything you'd like to promote that you can share to our audience?
I'm everywhere. I mean, I work for UPS. I might deliver you a package someday. You're like, I will. But yeah, I'm in Austin, Texas. Do look out for my sister, Jackie Venson.
She's amazing.
Well, I loved it. I loved seeing her at the CMT Awards. It was amazing. It was amazing.
She's
She's
so
really
good.
loving music.
Love
So
that.
good. Yeah, and Will, as he's around Austin, you'll probably see him around town. He's always hungry and even
Always.
he's randomly was in one of my buildings back in the day and stopped by to use my restroom, but he also bought jewelry, so we're on good terms in that regard.
Yes, yes.
Well, we appreciate you sharing and taking time out of your day to share your heartfelt stories with us. And you have the best, amazing day. And thank you for sharing your heartbreak to healing.
Thank you for having me on. Thank you. Nice
Ciao.
to meet you, Sophie.
It was good to meet you too. And yes, thank you for sharing. This was amazing.
You make my heart, you make me cry.